Good morning to you, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here from my new temporary abode in Maui, Hawaii, United States, July 12th, 2021. Today's sharing in this Maui series is inspiration and the playful art of intimacy. Now, allow me just to do what I normally do, which is this little serendipity along that inner and outer landscape called shared being. Over the last 10 days since I've been here, 2 weeks or so, I have had more interaction, I should say, more interaction than I have probably in the previous 18 months. Probably not uncommon for most of us who have been in areas or cities, countries under lockdown or mandatory stay at home. And in my case, complemented by my own desire to spend, I would call, sacred time within my own being. So I reinvented, if you will, my monk mode and have continued to do that. However, here I am on Maui. I've blessed to have participated in my first public gathering last weekend. A joyful, beautiful experience. Perhaps you've tuned in. If you haven't, the 6 2-hour sessions are here on my Facebook page, also on our SoundCloud page and YouTube page under World Dharma. More to the intimate edge is I've noticed and I have been asked and I have spoken about what is my Dhamma practice? What is my Dhamma vocation? How do I go about living my yoga, living my mindfulness, living my meditation? And allow me just to playfully reveal how I go about living my yoga, living my Dhamma, living my meditative interaction with myself and other, my meditative, mindful interaction with myself and other. Now, I've said many times, but I'll say it again here. When I first entered the monastic life in Burma under my preceptor, the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, he introduced me to simply 2 types of meditation. Meditation here is the transformational engagement of interiority with mindfulness, concentration, and effort, and patience, of course, and determination and courage, to relax conflict and to elevate freedom. He introduced that type of Dhamma practice, call it, figuratively speaking, self-engaging self and multiplicities of self-identities. Again, just relatively using the word self. Normally done with eyes open or closed, walking, sitting, standing. Those of us who've been in meditative retreats know what it means to engage Dhamma or mindful intelligence with self in all postures, all contexts, all times, the 3 streams of thinking, speaking, and acting. We do what we can there to relax self-generated dukkha or conflict known as the kilesa, lobha, dosa, moha. We must study the nature and the machinations of kilesa and to guard consciousness, guard our thought, guard our speech, guard our actions, be vigilant there as a non-violent revolutionary, to stand in solidarity with dignity, with conscience and mindful intelligence, to intercept the triggering of primordial kilesa, number 1. Equally, that playful, intimate art of engaging their opposites, generosity, moral integrity, creative wisdom, determination, courage, patience, authenticity, and elevating and inspiring higher altitude, higher dimensionality, if you will, with the good, the true, and the beautiful. Dana, Sila, Bhavana. Dana, generosity. Sila, never in my life felt more important to know that I've lived the best that I can in an hour a day, rooted in truthfulness, in kindness, in listening, in skillfulness, and if I do have the courage now and again to truly play within the quality of empathy and putting my heart and mind in the mind of another, listening, Alan, carefully to their thoughts, their feelings, and doing what you can with compassion, wisdom, kindness, love, generosity, to elevate the status of the communication, elevate the status of their lives, and give gifts, not necessarily looking for something in return. Point 2, Mahasi Sayadaw. The second form of meditation, which is the essence of today's sharing, inspiration and the playful art of intimacy, is contextual meditation. Now, to state the obvious, we're always in context. Breathing, walking, talking, eating, beds, cars, planes, beaches. So many things in the out, and therein lies our relationship, to state the obvious again, our relational dharma, as my friend Janine Davies calls it, relational transformational engagement with things, events, people, contexts. Meditation in context. Okay, pause. That to me is how I live my Dhamma life. I meditate pretty much every day with eyes closed, sitting, and most of the day I'm an engaged human being, moving, sitting, reclining, bending, interrelating with the phenomena of other. The 6 senses at the confluence of other, meditatively bringing our yoga, our transformational presence to the 6 senses, embodied presence, embodied wisdom in context. Dhamma in context, consciousness in context. What we do there is everything. Our lives are defined, elevated, diminished by who we are, what we do, what we don't do, at the confluence of interiority, consciousness and emotions, psychology, with the senses and the objects of the senses and the outer world called phenomena, events, people, places, atmospheres, roads, roadblocks, wars, tyranny, external existence. And what we do internally to deal with conditioning, with habits, freedom, choice, what do we bring to the confluence of presence to transform the kilesas that appear inside? They're not intrinsically outside. Yes, 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 people can go off on us, but how we react is our own issue. We can react with rage or violence, or we could react with blame, or we could react with patience. We could react with understanding. We could react with the skillfulness to retreat from the intensity of the environment, only to come back later with love and compassion and engage the complexity. There's so many things that we can do, that we often do or that we don't do, that determine our quality of consciousness. Quality of consciousness. Okay. Meditation is a deliberate, engaged inspiration. It takes inspiration to be present. It takes inspiration, to state the obvious, to be with complexity. It takes deep inspiration. This is really something of an edge for me. Deep inspiration to elevate the quality of my risk-taking intimacy. I love you. You're beautiful. I love the way that you interact and walk and talk and think and feel. And thank you, my friend, for engaging me with the playful intimacy of a spiritual, Dhammic, yogic, transformational, cool, creative, sapiosexual, eroticized ubuntification, nibbanification, whatever the words are that speak to the playful art of intimacy, right? That meditation, I just love it when I meet men and women, boys and girls, even the cat that has introduced herself to me here in this particular new flat, the playful art of interactive intimacy. What will you bring, Alan, to the forefront of your presence? The creative artistry, if you will, the creative aesthetic and the Dhamma art of meditation in life, not off the cushion, not off the mat. That's long over. That's 2 days ago. Meditation in life. Meditation in real-time engagement with everything that we encounter, either through events out of our control or choices of engagement. Okay. Coming to the second half of this sharing. Well, let me say it this way. I was recently sent an online album, recently released, I think sometime back, a year ago, a few years back, of Nick Cave. It's called Ghost Steen. Double album. First side is for the children. There's a spoken word section in the middle. And the second part of the album is for parents. And I looked up online and read more of why and how it was created. And those of you may know that some years back, Nick Cave's 15-year-old son at the time died in a rock climbing expedition. And this album was dedicated very indirectly, but very overtly, to the process of coming to more intimate proximity with inspiration and that playful, despairing, beautiful edge of melancholy and tragedy and hope. So when I bring Dhamma and yoga to my life, I bring this up about Mr. Cave because meditation in the world, meditation, it's the reverential intimacy of determining, regardless of the complexity, to be so real there, real. I think that's what I'm trying to get to, is to take out the contrivance. There is no ultimate alignment as we would think of in, say, the Iyengar school of yoga with an asana. What is the alignment of tragedy? What is the true embodiment of you who may be listening? What is your true embodiment of natural authenticity that you co-creatively play at the front edge of your own intimate dynamic with self and other for the purpose of transforming conflict from the space, unnecessary gravity, pretense. I'm not judging those qualities. They're so natural. Flaws can be beautiful if we beautify them. But to sort of die in them and abandon the playful creative art of a sapiosexual ubuntification, nibbanification, without the Dhamma I'm trying to get to, without the yoga, without the meditation, without the intelligence of our mindfulness, we live in the habit terrain of predictable patterns of neural circuitry and thought and speech. And we live, without knowing it often, a dead, I dare say, boring, predictable, despairing life. Mr. Cave in his double album, Ghosteen, and another song of his that was released prior to that, and I've been listening to it pretty much nonstop now for the last month, which has sort of become my, it's the theme song, if you will, to my Rocky, Pushing the Sky Away. And that's why I used today's title, Inspiration. Yesterday, I'll say this, I had this I was invited to this beautiful dinner party. I'd say the first one in over a year. Purposely excluded in my life because of my need to be in deep self-monctum. But now I'm coming out. And so there was maybe 10 people at this beautiful dinner at my friend's home here in Haiku. Just everything about the land and the place. You could feel that, the inspiration. I've been moving a lot the last 3 days, and I'm doing what I can to keep alive non-despair and inspiration, the playful art of intimate contextual refinement with plants and flowers and Buddha statues and notes to myself, a little yoga spot, a meditation here. And there were a variety of people that came, really unusually interesting people. A scientist who had discovered in the microscopic lenses to look deep, deep into a sand granule or into an ice crystal. Spectacular work and a very interesting mind. Another gentleman who's here on the island building the world's largest telescope to look out at the context, the playful art of infinite intimacy. And what an interesting mind. And his colleague, ally, who helps train the interns to understand the astrophysical nature of the telescope and the context of infinity and the galaxies. Fascinating conversation. A gentleman there who was this truly a savant, a film designer over many decades. I don't like to name drop, but did all the James Bond movies and Apocalypse Now, one of my most favorite films, and The Truman Show. And we had a long conversation yesterday. And there were other people there too. I want to say a man and a woman, a couple who did a film about the Dalai Lama and a documentary on the genocide of Cambodia. And they do mental health here on the island. We talked about addictions and the context of culture and politics and what is mental health and what is a contrived supremacist denigration of people. Very interesting dynamic. And I was just watching the energetics of shared space. And where's your Dhamma here, Alan? Bring your yoga to this dinner. The way you eat, the way that people were looking and talking and interrelating. This is your life. This is your monastery. This is where you will either become more liberated or go to bed thinking that you didn't get enough sleep. It's not just another evening, another dinner in the life. I think of the Buddha's text with the Tuvataka Sutta and with Kema and his stepmother, Gotami. And these deep, psychic, interactive, creative constellations of transformational awakening. All about what Mahasi Sayadaw introduced me to, which was the transformational commitment as a yogi to engage shared space. I mean, if there's something I want to be known in my heart for, It's communicating the evidence that make our life an expression of our commitment to Dhamma, to Dharma. Go there. Root your yogi. Root your meditation so far away from the apartheid of a particular posture or a particular country or a particular teacher or a particular location. Drop the reference of better somewhere other, right? Nick Cave and his spectacular testimony of the heart with Ghosteen to his son. I couldn't imagine losing my daughter. And yet every one of us are losing someone right now. We will continue to lose people that we cherish. The tragic poignancy of a playful, reverential intimacy that includes the spectrum of emotionality without denigration. Contextual presence. So I was speaking to this gentleman yesterday, this movie designer. What an artistic, nuanced savant. Because he knew, and others had told him, and I spoke yesterday quite openly for the several hours, about where I'm finding my own artistic Dhamma engagement right now. I love my live streams, a form of, I call it, my own world Dharma self-therapy. I loved the interaction with the group of 9 or 10, 11 people over the weekend. I will very likely continue here a weekly group for a selected amount of people, open and offered freely. I'm definitely, if I could find someone who would set it up for me, would love to do a World Dharma Forum on Zoom, and rather than just simply talking, offering maybe a 5 or 10 minute opening and then dialogue, dialectical Dhamma transformation. That's coming back to what Mahasi Sayadaw talked to me about, the dialectical, the interactive. And that's the dance, isn't it? Isn't that the yoga that we take to the mat? How well do we live our Dhamma? I think there's such an underestimation of the power and the beauty of knowing how to foster elegant inspiration by standing more in dynamic virtue to your beauty, your artistry, your aesthetic, your creative resolve to bring the most erotic, beautiful chemistry to the forefront of your experience with the waitress, with the stranger, with the person over the counter. It sounds like when you use the word, Alan, over the counter, it means something ordinary, but it isn't. All of us want transformational, playful, profound moments of life. Why not include everything, everywhere, all postures, all times, all degrees of complexity? It's really just, okay, resituate our Dhamma to context and relational awakening. And this is really where I find intelligence, or the absence of intelligence, how well, and I'm not going to grade this, but only you can evaluate the love of your own developmental engagement with thought, with speech, with tone, with movement, with dance, with love, with space, with silence, with listening, with the art of the question, with the art of intimacy, the art of playful dialogue. And it's so beautiful to have conversations, as I did with this gentleman yesterday, about the soul, really, of my life. A talented communicator with essence, ability to excite the question behind the question, if you will allow me. And without going too further into the details of that, how satisfying it is to see your Dhamma, feel your Dhamma, and you can feel it not only being reciprocated, but engaged in an intelligent, creative, playfully inspiring, intimate manner. Isn't this what life is? Pause, Alan, as I come to the end. How often I've heard myself say that when the Buddha was asked, according to the commentarial literature, what was it that you defined your journey of the Dhamma? What was the operating attitude most important to you to keep your Dhamma at the forefront of your presence? And he said, I made each encounter my ultimate object of reverence. Easy to see images in our mind of a type, at least I do, of a type of biblical, reverential, almost Christ-like sense of high order mercy and love. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about the word reverence here. And I'll look in my thesaurus of synonyms and more nuanced expressions and try to remove the word reverence. It's sort of a touchstone to me. Sacred, dynamic, playful, interactive, transformational, wisdom dancing to keep the movement in the flow and the laughter and the look, the tonality, the joy, the reciprocity, the compliments, the pauses, the silence, the overt nature of speaking about your shadow and your hungers and your appetites, and even if you've got addictions or fetishes, that you bring light to the silences of the darkness and you take a little of the mystique out of it and you go right down with pushing the sky away. Yes, yes, yes. Cure. I want to be cured. So I'm visualizing right now exactly what I'm saying with my aneurysm. I've learned out here to no longer wait to meditate, to visualize a healthy ascending aorta, but to live in the deep actualization that it is healthy. It is natural. And what are you doing, dude? Are you like reading a lot of Joe Dispenza? Like the biology of beliefs? And where are you in there, Mr. Lipton? You know, hey, go into deepest narratives of already existing enlightening nibbanification. Transform the deepest vestiges of conditional beliefs, of states of fear or despair. Evaporate the kilesas. Let them dry up. Whoosh. How? Go down deep inside. Live in the most beautiful, reverential space. I find when I go out and talk, as I did at this dinner party, there's a type of willingness to play in the field of shared magic. And yes, the next morning, the next afternoon, oh, I wish I could have. And it brings up deeper longings, right? For me, a deeper longing would be intimate companionship. Hey, you, love, you know, the dance of naked present time intimacy with lover, with friend, of goddess, of tender engagement with curiosity and artistry, naps and sleeps and dinners and love and walks and talks and yoga. Creatures of non-habit, becoming more and more familiar in the naked intimacy of playful inspiration. So coming to the end, my Dhamma practice. I encourage you to encourage me, to encourage our friends and our family. Let's dedicate our lives to the engaged vocation of being stellar treasures of expressed interactive Dhamma awakening. What are those attributes of your meditative, visionary hope? Who do you want to be? What are the colors on your interior palette? What are the notes? What are the musics? What are the brush strokes? How do you wish to touch the lover of your own analogous Dhamma body? Anoint, ascend, elevate, co-create, dynamically release into the radiance and the luminosity of playfully inspired, liberating intimacy. A world we are embedded in. Make it our canvas, our theater, our home, our family. Bring this dynamic best to the people that we meet and to ourselves. And in my own quiet way, I'm going to take my book, Extinction X-Rated. I've given a few thoughts and notes to an upcoming digital tragedy called Dead Man Walking, Freedom Never Dies. This gentleman and I talked about the essence of that and how to bring that to the next iteration and eventually possibly to film in the cinema. I wrote it as a film, but I want to enact it. The story of my heart, the story of my life, the story of inspiration. And I thank Nick Cave in his song, Pushing the Sky Away, an impossible task. How do you push the sky away? But isn't that the dilemma of being human? Regardless, keep pushing, keep that inspiration alive. Don't give up, right? A story that never ends in its recreation of inspired, playful intimacy. I want to love until there's only love. I want to be free until there's only freedom. And so in heart to yours, to mine, thank you for being in my life. Thank you for being a part of this dance. And anyone out there who wishes to meet, talk, relate, I'm here. And we'll be doing some interesting things, hopefully introducing the once a week, 2 to 3 hour public group here, probably in my flat until I find a more sustainable home for a month or 2 or 3. And it'll be limited. We'll find someone who will organize that and support the registration. There'll be no charge for it. And I'd like to continue that. We'll live stream those groups. And equally, I'd like to reach out to my digital friends around the world and offer a weekly World Dharma Forum on Zoom. And if any of you who are listening or have friends and wish to take the responsibility to organize that, I'm all in to start that immediately and just have a permanent link to those who want to participate in that weekly or even bi-weekly World Dharma Forum with question and I dare say answers, but more of the dialectical and in the shared intimacy. So allow me to end today with the beginning. Inspiration. Keep pushing, no matter what. We're all in the same ship. We're all on the same planet. We're all in the same physical encasement of a body. It's all temporary. It's all mortal. Uncertainty is with every breath. We know that. We know that. Live outside with the radiance of your Dhamma. Don't take your Dhamma, your meditation, your yoga off the mat and the cushion. Live in context. Live in radical intimacy. And right there, define your own producing, your directorship, your actor, your actress, your lover, your savant, your Buddha, your goddess. Dance in the music as real and as styled in clothing or as naked as you want. But play in the beautiful intimacy of transformational Dhamma. And let us compare the notes of what it means to live in the world of our art, to live in the world of our heart, live in the world of consciousness made real, keeping alive the radiance of Dhamma, the greatest gift that we can give ourselves, the greatest gift that we can give life, this transformational beauty that elevates the status of freedom. And let us not neglect the people of Myanmar. They aspire, they're dying, they're crying, they're fighting, they're bringing their trans Dhamma, their radical, spiritual, political, revolutionary courage to their lives and saying, we refuse to participate in dictatorship. We refuse to participate in totalitarianism. We have already won the revolution. Okay? Deepest cellular level of inspiration. So keep the Dhamma active. God willing, see you tomorrow morning here from my new abode in Makawao in Hawaii at 9:30 in the morning. And from my heart to yours, thank you for being in my life.